Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal Part 113 based on novel. So let's start. The tide phase of the East Demon Spirit Sea began. As the sea began to move faster, the rumbling sounds got even louder. In the end, the rumblings linked together and seemed to extend up to the heavens and down into the void. Soon, the entire area was filled with a loud rumble. The entire sea of floating stuff was bubbling like lava. All of the things were moving around like they were ancient ghosts trying to escape their prison. The rumbling sound had already spread across the endless space. This sound was so loud that it echoed endlessly inside the ears of the surrounding cultivators. Wang Lin's eyes became serious as he looked at the endless sea of floating stuff. This was the first time he had seen this place, so everything here was foreign to him. Everything he knew about his place, he had heard from others or from Sun Yunshan on their way here. Even the tide phase was something he had only heard about but had never seen before. I have to carefully observe this tide phase that only happens once every 5,000 years to see what's so mysterious about it. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. At this moment, everyone's gazes gathered on the endless sea of floating stuff. The rumbling sound got louder and louder until finally, a sharp roar came from inside the sea. This roar was very painful to the ears, it was like the howling of a ghost. At this moment, all of the floating stuff trembled and began to spin due to a mysterious force. This spinning was terrifying, it was as if the entire star system was spinning. Some of the cultivators with lower cultivation levels couldn't help but float toward the spinning sea. If it wasn't for the people beside them pulling them back, they would have fused with that sea. Wang Lin's eyes were calm and his Dao heart was sturdy, so he won't be pulled in by this kind of spinning. As the East Sea spun, the roar became even more ear-piercing than before. The roar had already surpassed the rumbling. Finally, a green gas began to spread out from all the stuff inside the East Demon Spirit Sea. The moment the gas appeared, it began to spread out. In the blink of an eye, the outside of the sea was already surrounded by the green gas. However, the green gas immediately began to boil and then it gathered at the center. It was as if there was a powerful force pressing from all sides, causing the green gas and the floating stuff to gather at the center in an instant. The entire space suddenly shook as all the green gas and floating stuff gathered together to form a mysterious spring opening. This mouth of a spring was not static but continued to grow as things gathered from all directions. It became wider and taller until it was more than 1,000 feet tall. Sword Saint Ling Tianho's eyes revealed a mysterious light and he muttered to himself, "It has begun. I wonder what will be attracted here this time." There was a flash of 7-colored light in the All-Seer's calm eyes. At this moment, all of the cultivators that had seen the East Demon Spirit Sea open once before had their gazes deadlocked at the opening of the spring. This green column was like a pillar that seemed to be holding up space itself. It kept growing taller until it reached the limit of the divine senses range. At this moment, Wang Lin revealed a shocked expression. As the green column continued to grow longer, a pressure like the heavens might slowly began to spread out from it. Just this sliver of the heavens might made Wang Lin feel like there were 10,000 mountains pressing down on top of him. There was a cracking sound coming from his body, making it seem like he was about to collapse at any time. Very powerful. Wang Lin's eyes revealed an unyielding look. A grey gas appeared between his brows and then turned into a tattoo that quickly covered his body. As a result, the pressure reached a point where he could withstand it. Since Wang Lin was like this, it's obvious that many of the surrounding cultivators were worse. Their faces were extremely pale, and they were forced to retreat. If it wasn't for their elders and masters being there to withstand the pressure for them, many of them would have collapsed and died. Just at this moment, a scene that would be hard for many cultivators to forget in their lifetime suddenly began to unfold. The giant, green pillar suddenly collapsed and rays of red light continued to shoot out from it. The rays of red light spread out like crazy, they even went through the bodies of the surrounding cultivators and went deep into space. As the green pillar continued to collapse, more and more rays of red light were released. The red light spread out at an unimaginable speed. At this moment, if you look at it from another angle, the East Demon Spirit Sea, one of the 3 forbidden areas of planet Tianyun, was covered in green and red light. The green light was slowly disappearing and being replaced by red light. This red wasn't blood red, it was more like the red of the blazing sun. This red light spread out like light from the sun with the East Demon Spirit Sea as the center. The light spread endlessly in all directions. As for exactly how far the red light spread out, no one but a few select individuals knew. Some of the deserted planets far away from planet Tianyun were covered by this red light. Even the farther away planet Suzaku was affected. The current Suzaku, Ju Wutai, was cultivating when he opened his eyes to find that the sky was completely red. Even farther away, more planets were covered by this red light. There was no way to clearly calculate how far this red light that only came out from the East Demon Spirit Sea once every 5,000 years spread each time. At this moment, the red light suddenly stopped spreading as if it had reached a limit. However, a heaven-shaking thing was happening at all the places the red light reached. Among the stars, planets, and space, everything from treasures, jades, spirit stones, celestial jades, corpses, ancient swords, treasure remnants, celestial spells, ancient cultivation treasures, and various other things, no matter where they were, as long as they were in the range of the red light and without an owner, they began to tremble. This trembling didn't last very long, but the effect was beyond imagination. Right now all of the objects without an owner shook violently. Not all of the cultivators on these cultivation planets knew where this red light was coming from. In fact, most cultivators had made up their own ideas about this red light that appeared once every 5,000 years. Only those few really powerful cultivators knew where this red light came from and that the East Demon Spirit Sea near planet Tianyun had opened. The red light spread out everywhere, but this wasn't the end of the tide phase, it was only the beginning. The red light paused for a few moments before it began to flash violently. This time it didn't spread out but withdrew at the same speed that it spread out. It was like the unstoppable tide had begun to withdraw with an unimaginable force. If it was only the red light returning, it wouldn't be such a big deal, but what came with it were the endless treasures, spirit stones, celestial jades, and all the ownerless items. Some strange beasts and powerful life forms that lived in the void of space were pulled in as well. Everything that was pulled by the tide was rushing through space and being pulled back toward the East Demon Spirit Sea at a crazy speed. The speed at which the light retracted was a bit slower than when it expanded, but not by much. From another angle, one could clearly see that with the East Demon Spirit Sea as the center, the red light quickly retreated like the tides from an unimaginably vast area. At this moment, the red light went through the stars, space, and planets like the concept of distance didn't exist for it. After only 3 breaths of time, the cultivators outside the East Demon Spirit Sea all saw red light shockwaves rushing back like tens of thousands of galloping horses. This shockwave was a circle that was closing in on the East Demon Spirit Sea. Wang Lin's pupils suddenly shrank and his eyes revealed a powerful sense of shock. The scene of the tide spreading out had already given him a feeling that this wasn't real. When he saw the tide coming back, he couldn't help but let out a big breath. Actually, not only Wang Lin, but everyone who was seeing the tide phase for the first time felt the same amount of shock Wang Lin was feeling. Some of them had been so mesmerized that they lost control of their Dao hearts. At one moment, the red light still looked like it was far in the distance, but in the next moment, the red light had already passed by all the cultivators. At the same time, all of the jades, spirit stones, celestial jades, treasures, and various things that would make everyone's eyes red moved at an extremely fast speed past the cultivators. There were even some corpses, large beasts, and large magic treasures that passed by as well. However, all of these things were wrapped in the red light, and the red light had the mysterious power to make all of them incorporeal. Thus, all of these things passed through all the cultivators without causing any disturbance. It was as if at this moment, everything before them was an illusion. Wang Lin personally saw a giant demonic beast with a single horn that emitted black lightning and had a cultivation level similar to an ascendant cultivator go through his body at a speed so fast he had no chance to dodge at all. At the moment it passed through him, Wang Lin took a deep breath. He suddenly turned around and carefully looked at the passing red light to catch a glimpse of as many treasures as he possibly could. Heaven metal soil. Exquisite mixed liquid. Inkstone. Lingxi horn. Wang Lin only got a vague look and his heart skipped a beat. All of these things were pretty good materials for refining the ancient god's treasures. There is also, this is, Wang Lin's eyes suddenly became serious as he stared at a ray of red light in the distance. Inside the red light was a large sword. This sword was like a wooden board coated in gold. However, there was rust on the sword, and some parts were even broken off. In the blink of an eye, the sword disappeared among the red lights. Wang Lin's eyes suddenly shined brightly. All of the surrounding cultivators' eyes lit up and they made their own plans as they stared at the various treasures passing by. The tide phase was about to end, but just at this moment, another ray of red light came from the distance. This ray of light was extraordinary, and it closed in the blink of an eye. At the moment this ray of red light appeared, the All-Seer's calm face suddenly changed. He suddenly turned around, and his eyes were like lightning as he stared at the incoming ray of red light. Sword Saint Ling Qianho's eyes glowed brightly like a torch as he stared at the red light going deep into the East Demon Spirit Sea. At this moment, not only those two, but among all the cultivators, various ancient figures charged out. These ancient figures were all famous old monsters of planet Qianyun. Their original purpose was to just bring their younger generations here, but after seeing that last ray of red light, and especially after seeing what was inside, they all seemed to have become tens of thousands of years younger and charged out. This shocking scene suddenly attracted the gazes of all the surrounding cultivators. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he stared at the incoming ray of red light. This ray of red light was so fast that it passed by all the cultivators in the blink of eye as it charged into the East Demon Spirit Sea. If it was only fast, it wouldn't be a big deal, but the red light stopped divine sense from peeking in and the eyes from seeing through. All of the spells that attempted to see what was inside were blocked, making it impossible to see what exactly was in there. It was so well hidden that it even caused people like the All-Seers and Ling Qianho's expressions to change. At the moment Wang Lin's divine sense touched the red light, it was like it was trapped in a maze, and it immediately collapsed. If it wasn't for the fact that he was decisive and gave it up immediately, he would have definitely been injured by the collapse. All the surrounding cultivators' faces were pale, some of them even coughed out blood and looked weakened. They clearly weren't fast enough at withdrawing their divine senses and were injured by the red light. Don't use divine sense to check, this is not something you juniors can see. At this moment, among all the old monsters, a skinny old man's voice echoed across the area. At this moment, that ray of red light had passed through everyone and was about to enter the East Demon Spirit Sea. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and 3 strands of grey gas appeared between his brows. The 3 strands of grey gas turned into 3 tattoos and rapidly flashed on Wang Lin's forehead. At the same time, the 3 tattoos seemed to have melted and quickly formed a border around his eyes. At the moment the border formed, Wang Lin's eyes lit up like the moon in the night, and the light extended half an inch out from his eyes. His gaze looked like it would pierce through heaven and earth. It directly charged through the void, caught up to the red light that was about to disappear, and pierced directly into it. He wanted to see what exactly was in there. Wang Lin's gaze pierced deep into the red light and went deep inside, but he only saw red light. On top of that, a mysterious force attacked him, sending waves of pain back to his body. Wang Lin's eyes suddenly became bloodshot and tears began to flow, there was even blood mixed in. Wang Lin clenched his teeth and let out a roar. The borders around his eyes began to emit strands of grey gas. However, the grey gas didn't spread out but went into Wang Lin's eyes. In almost the blink of an eye, Wang Lin's bloodshot eyes carried a thick shade of grey. As a result, his gaze inside the red light that was about to disappear seemed to be revitalized, and it broke through layers of red light and collided with the mysterious force within. Finally, at the instant the red light disappeared into the East Demon Spirit Sea, Wang Lin's gaze finally broke through the red light and saw the thing that caused the All-Seer and everyone else's expressions to change. It was a token. A glittering, golden token with symbols carved on it. At the moment he clearly saw the token, a large amount of blood came out from his eyes and heart-piercing pain entered his body. Wang Lin closed his eyes. When he reopened them, that ray of red light had already disappeared inside the East Demon Spirit Sea. At this moment, Wang Lin's eyes were completely bloodshot, but there were strands of grey moving inside them, giving his gaze a very demonic feel. In the distance, the girl named Yao Shishu, who was sitting on the blood-red jade, accidentally looked over at Wang Lin. At the moment she saw his gaze, her body trembled involuntarily and her face turned pale. She quickly lowered her head and her heart trembled violently. That gaze. I know why father wants me to pay attention to this person now. Sword Saint Ling Qianho's eyes lit up and he pointed at the East Sea. The 4 illusionary swords behind his back trembled and then shot toward the East Sea. There were 4 heaven-shaking rumbles as the 4 swords began to spin like crazy, forming a vortex at the center of the sea. The 4 swords were each like a never-ending vortex. They created 4 points and then suddenly tore open an uneven opening. Waves of green and red came from the entrance along with ghost-like wails. This opening looked like it led to nothing, but when one looked closer, they would see that there was more to it deep inside. The gate to the East Demon Spirit Sea is now open. Anyone that is going to enter, do so quickly. Although Sword Saint Ling Qianho only said a few words, they were filled with killing intent. After he finished speaking, the 12 swords turned into 12 rays of sharp light and charged directly toward the entrance. The 12 people all went into the entrance, and as the last one stepped in, the Sword Saint's eyes narrowed. He flicked his finger and a ray of sword energy shot out toward the last disciple. Here is a ray of sword energy from me for the 12 of you to use as your life-saving spell. At the moment Ling Qianho said this, the ray of sword energy was respectfully received by the last disciple. He bowed toward the Sword Saint and then walked inside. Greed had already disappeared from behind Ling Qianho. He had turned into that last ray of sword energy and disappeared into the gate of the East Demon Spirit Sea along with the 12 swords. The All-Seer's eyes were calm as he gave Ling Qianho a meaningful look and said, "Disciples of the Heavenly Fate sect, go inside." Along with Wang Lin, the 10 of them replied. They immediately got up and flew toward the entrance. However, Wang Lin's speed slowed down a bit, and he didn't go in first. He waited for the others to go in first and then walked inside. After the Da Lu Sword Sect and Heavenly Fate Sect disciples had entered, the disciples of the famous sects and old monsters all flew toward the entrance. Yao Shishue, who was on the Blood Jade, pondered a bit before clenching her teeth and charging toward the entrance. For half an hour, people continued to enter the gate. Among the hundreds of people that entered, there were disciples of some very famous old monsters. Half an hour later, Sword Saint Ling Qianho waved his hand and the 4 vortexes that created the opening shook. Then they stopped spinning and turned into 4 rays of sword energy and flew back to Ling Qianho, becoming 4 flashing illusionary swords once more. As the 4 swords disappeared, a large amount of green and red light leaked from the opening. In almost the blink of an eye, the opening disappeared without a trace. The surrounding cultivators had almost all scattered, and even those that hadn't left yet slowly scattered as well. Soon, there was only a handful of cultivators left outside the East Demon Spirit Sea. All of these cultivators were famous old monsters, and they all had high cultivation levels. They all knew each other, and the only reason they hadn't left was due to the item inside that last ray of red light. This matter involved a big secret of planet Qianyun. Everyone here was silent and no one spoke. Sword Saint Ling Qianho's eyes narrowed as he stared at the All-Seer and shouted, "All-Seer, the item in that last ray of red light was a token." The All-Seer's eyes were calm as he looked at the Sword Saint and then at the surrounding old friends, then he faintly smiled and said, "That is correct. It is a token, and it is the 3rd one. I didn't think that this opening of the East Demon Spirit Sea would have brought the token we all have been waiting for. Now that the token is inside the East Demon Spirit Sea, we don't have to worry. The East Demon Spirit Sea opens once every 5,000 years, and the disciples test themselves inside for 500 years. As a result, we will meet here again in 200 years and then we will go in there again. I believe everyone has heard about what happened before, so I hope everyone is well prepared. I think 200 years is enough time for everyone to be fully prepared." After the All-Seer finished speaking, he clasped his hands at everyone before waving his sleeves and taking a step into the void. His body slowly disappeared into the void. Sword Saint Ling Qianho let out a snort as he turned around to give the East Demon Spirit Sea a meaningful look before stepping onto a ray of sword energy and disappearing. After the 2 of them, the remaining famous old monsters all had various thoughts as they formed groups of 3 to 5 and left. The area of outside the East Demon Spirit Sea now returned to the peaceful state it was in before. The sea of floating stuff slowly moved and gave off a mysterious aura. Red and green continued to flash within the sea. Sword Saint Ling Qianhu turned into a ray of sword energy as he charged through the void. The location of the Da Lu sword sect was not on planet Qianyun nor one of the 5 planets orbiting it, but on a large planet that was dragged here by Ling Qianhu. Although this planet couldn't beat Qianyun, it was much larger than the 5 planets orbiting Qianyun. This planet also had dense spiritual energy and was very suitable for cultivators. The Da Lu sword sect was established here by him. This planet was named Da Lu by Ling Qianhu. Ling Qianhu moved extremely fast as he broke through the planet's atmosphere. He went directly to his closed-door cultivation location at the eastern part of the planet. I must use these 200 years of time to refine the celestial sword. I'll fuse 9 demonic beast spirits into one to refine this celestial sword into a demonic sword. At that time, my chance of obtaining the token will increase by 1-fold. Sword Saint Ling Qianhu's eyes lit up and he disappeared into his personal building. As for the All-Seer, when he returned to planet Qianyun, he immediately went into the 7-colored tower on top of the 3 mountains. He sat inside the tower and had several black beast bones around him. These beast bones were extremely smooth and shiny. They also gave off an evil aura. My disciple Wang Lin is a person of great fortune. I just don't know how much fortune he has left. The All-Seer's expression was normal as his right reached out and all the beast bones flew into his grasp, then scattered them all on the ground. The All-Seer's eyes lit up. He carefully looked at the bones and gradually revealed a faint smile. The inside of the gate to the East Demon Spirit Sea was in complete chaos. It can be said that this place was its own realm. Perhaps there were people here who knew how big this place was, but Wang Lin was clearly not one of them. After he stepped through the gate, he felt like he had walked through water and entered the depths of an ocean. Before him was a vast wasteland. This place had a sky, ground, and even sea, but this wasn't a cultivation planet. There was no one around Wang Lin's current location. The only thing around him was an endless wasteland. The other 9 people of the Heavenly Fate sect were all split apart when they entered the gate. Right now he had no idea where they were. This East Demon Spirit Sea is completely different from anywhere else I have been before. This place is more like the mortal world rather than some place with lot of treasures hidden. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, then he spread out his divine sense and flew into the sky. I guess the other people that entered were forcibly separated by the gate like me and will survive in the East Demon Spirit Sea by themselves. Sun Yunshan once said that the trip to the East Demon Spirit Sea lasts for 500 years. That means I'll have to stay here for 500 years. Wang Lin remained calm as he continued to fly and ponder. 500 years of time for mortals is several generations, but for cultivators, it is just the flick of a finger. However, in these 500 years, I have a lot of things to do. I must reach the major completion of the Celestial Slaughter Art. This is priority number 1. Also, even if Tuo Sen breaks free, he would never be able to guess that I'm here, so that gives me an extra 500 years. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he revealed a faint smile. Earlier, he heard from Sun Yunshan that once one enters the East Demon Spirit Sea, they must stay inside for 500 years. After hearing that, he decided that he absolutely had to enter the East Demon Spirit Sea. It has to be said that the person Wang Lin dreaded the most was Tuo Sen from the land of the ancient god. Once that person breaks free, the first thing Tuo Sen will do is find Wang Lin. It was simply too difficult for Wang Lin to fight Tuo Sen with his current cultivation. This was also why Wang Lin was cultivating the Celestial Slaughter Art like crazy to turn life force into life seals. He knew that he couldn't beat Tuo Sen, so he wanted to learn a life-saving spell. Only after the Celestial Slaughter Art reaches major completion and he forms a large amount of life seals can he resist Tuo Senator. This was the number 1 goal. I wonder what cultivation level I can reach in 500 years. Wang Lin's eyes released a strange light as he secretly pondered. There is also the matter with Senior Ju Yi. This is another reason why I came here. With Senior Ju Yi's domain in the pagoda, it shouldn't be hard to find where the Sword Saint sealed Senior Ju Yi. If I can save Senior Ju Yi, then with his help and the celestial swords, I will have a very powerful attack in a short period of time. In addition, there's the large sword I saw outside the East Demon Spirit Sea. The sword I saw was almost identical to the wealth from back then. The light in Wang Lin's eyes intensified. Wealth has the spell to control the celestial sword inside. If that really is wealth, then if I can find it and learn the control technique inside it, the power of the celestial sword will at least increase several fold. However, none of those can compare to the token I saw. What exactly is that token to cause people like the Allseers and Ling Qianho's expressions to change? Planet Qianyun has too many secrets, and I can't even begin to guess them without any knowledge. Wang Lin let out a sigh and remained silent. Forget it. I can only take these things one step at a time, they can't be rushed. Now that the original body is well hidden on that desolate planet, it won't be showing itself. Also, back in the Suzaku tomb, Tor Sen only locked onto me and doesn't know about my original body yet. I'll need to spend the next 500 years making it stronger to prepare for the future. Wang Lin cleared his mind. As he was thinking, he had unknowingly flown countless kilometers. He spread out his divine sense and still found nothing. This wasteland was too quiet. Inside Wang Lin's divine sense range, other than himself, there was no life at all. Wang Lin's expression remained normal as he continued to fly. Time slowly passed. 10 days later, while Wang Lin was flying, his expression suddenly changed and he turned to look into the distance with eyes like lightning. He took one step and his entire body moved like a meteor with speed several times faster than before toward that direction. There was a thick forest outside of the wasteland. At this moment, there was a person lying on the ground in the forest. This person had no clothes covering the upper part of his body, and that uncovered part was smeared with some green liquid. He lied there completely motionless, even his breathing was so weak that it seemed to stop at times. Soon, he was so still that he seemed to have disappeared altogether. It was almost impossible for a normal person to even notice him. It didn't take long before the sound of running came from the forest. Soon, a beast the size of a calf with a fierce mouth charged out. This wild beast was kind of like a wild pig, but it contained a fierceness that showed off dangerous it was. There was not a sliver of spiritual energy inside this beast. The beast let out a roar as it jumped out from the forest. However, at the moment it charged out, the person lying on the ground suddenly jumped out as well, and he somehow had a black spear in his hand now. This person was very quick. At almost the exact moment the wild beast charged out, the spear was already stabbing toward it. The beast didn't expect anyone to be there, but instead of being startled, it was angry and charged toward the spear. With a series of crackling sounds, the spear shattered. The man with green liquid smeared on his body twisted his body mid-air and grabbed the blade at the tip of the spear. Without any hesitation, he mounted on the back of the beast. Then he grabbed the beast's fur and stabbed directly into the beast's neck. The beast felt sharp pain, then it let out a miserable roar and began to struggle. It began to charge randomly while carrying the person on its back. Wang Lin's figure appeared in the air. He stared at the person and beast below him with a mysterious gaze. This person and beast were the first living things he had come across in 10 days. The beast's eyes were bloodshot and it was letting out a series of roars, but the person on its back still had a calm gaze. His left hand was holding onto the beast's fur firmly and he stuck close to the beast's body to maintain his balance to stay on the beast's back. His right hand held the knife as firmly as a mountain to make sure it stayed in the beast's neck. Shortly after, the beast's eyes slowly dimmed and the blood coming out from its neck was no longer red but gave off a ghostly light. Finally, the beast fell to the ground and stopped moving. The person on the beast let out a breath of relief and pulled out the knife. However, his expression suddenly changed as he turned around and looked at the sky behind him with a confused gaze. Wang Lin frowned as he looked at the person. He was very shocked that although this person had no spiritual energy inside him, he had amazing enough spirit to be able to almost notice that someone was around. With a thought, Wang Lin slowly appeared in the air as he stared at the person with a cold gaze. The person smeared with green liquid was shocked when he suddenly saw Wang Lin appear, and his eyes revealed a mysterious light. A second later, he jumped before the beast and held the knife up. He looked at Wang Lin and said, with a raspy voice, "Beast is mine." Wang Lin's eyes narrowed and he said, "I'm not here to steal from you." That person stared at Wang Lin for a bit and nodded shortly after. He then slowly knelt down, grabbed the beast with some difficulty, and dragged it into the forest. As he dragged the beast, he stared at Wang Lin with his guard up. Wang Lin didn't move even after this person had moved far away. In Wang Lin's eyes, this person was very interesting. The person who was smeared in green liquid dragged the beast really far away. When he saw that Wang Lin wasn't following, he let out a sigh of relief and continued to drag the beast by its fur. He wandered around all day, and it wasn't until the sun was about to set that he dragged the beast into a hidden valley. At the moment he entered the valley, a faint ripple appeared. However, this ripple was very faint and quickly disappeared, so it was not easy to spot. At the moment he entered the valley, Wang Lin's body stepped out from the void. His eyes lit up and revealed a mysterious light as he looked around. Someone spent a lot of effort to place a giant formation here. It can hide the presence of all living things, so unless one is close, it is almost impossible to notice the existence of this place. Looking at the markings of the formation, it has already been here for countless years. The way the formation is placed down is different from the methods of the Cultivation Alliance, so this should have been placed down by ancient cultivators. Wang Lin's eyes were like torches. He wasn't in a rush to enter the valley, so he checked the valley from the outside before coming to this conclusion. This place is interesting. This East Demon Spirit Sea is clearly different from all the other places I have been to hunt treasure. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a mysterious light as he looked at the valley protected by the formation. After observing for a while, he pointed at the air. A ray of spiritual energy quickly flew out from his finger and into the valley. However, at the moment the ray of spiritual energy entered the valley, the formation surrounding the valley began to rumble. A green gas came out from the formation and quickly devoured the spiritual energy Wang Lin had shot out. Shortly after, a lot of noise suddenly came from inside the valley. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He took a few steps back and then his body disappeared. Flashes of bright light came from within the valley, and 3 people walked out. These 3 people were all topless and had green liquid smeared over their bodies. They were holding rusty weapons in their hands, and after they walked out of the valley, they were all very cautious. Shortly after, the 3 of them revealed looks of confusion. They looked at each other before walking back into the valley. At the moment they disappeared into the valley, Wang Lin's body turned into green smoke and quickly followed them. However, when he touched the formation, it activated again and emitted a green light. A powerful sense of crisis surrounded the area. Wang Lin frowned and took a few steps back. After he backed off, the green light disappeared from the formation. Interesting. Wang Lin's eyes became cold. The purpose of the formation was to protect everything inside the valley and not allow anyone else inside. Once someone tries to break in, the formation will activate all its power to kill the invader. This formation was very ingenious. After studying it for a while, Wang Lin knew that he couldn't break it in a short period of time. His gaze darkened as he sat down in the lotus position outside the formation without saying a word. Shortly after he revealed himself, he caught the attention of the people inside the valley. There were flashes of light and then 4 people walked out. Among the 4 people, 3 of them were the 3 from before, and the 4th person was filled with killing intent. He was holding a black pole arm that gave off a ghostly glow. At the moment he walked out, without saying a word, he threw the pole arm at Wang Lin. Then he let out a cruel smile and charged toward Wang Lin. The 3 people behind him also let out roars and charged toward Wang Lin with their rusty weapons. Wang Lin's eyes were calm. With one gaze, the pole arm flying at him immediately collapsed. The person with the cruel smile was startled. He stared at the broken pole arm with his mouth wide open, unable to say a word. The 3 people behind him also stopped. Wang Lin didn't waste time with them and reached out with his right hand. They immediately screamed, as a mysterious force had caught all 4 of them. Wang Lin threw them to the side and trapped them so they couldn't move. Normally, Wang Lin wouldn't lower himself to deal with people without any spiritual energy in their bodies, but this place was simply too strange. A mere valley like his had this kind of ancient formation protecting it. All he could do was find clues from the people living inside. After he easily captured the 4 of them, Wang Lin's expression remained normal and he continued to cultivate. It wasn't long before an uproar could be heard from within the valley. There were more flashes of light from within the valley, and this time, 2 people walked out. This video will end here.